Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special 2018 NFL Draft edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. All of that noise in the background is Brian E. Roach. He's fidgeting over there because it is nearly midnight and well past Grandpa's bedtime. My name's Joe Kuzma, and I'd like to say, how you doing, Brian?
I'm doing awesome, but yeah, it's past my bedtime. I'm old and I'm tired, but I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. You know what? My wife's been working out of town recently, and I've been basically a single parent for like the last month. So I'm equally tired. And if any of the listeners out there are returning from remembering last year's NFL draft coverage, we get a little loopy on this stuff because we're running on low fumes, and you don't do the not to be named product that didn't sponsor us anymore. So I bet you are really running on fumes.
I'm caffeine free anymore, man.
Man, straight edge. How about that? So, speaking of edge, I think there's some people that are probably on the edge out there over a lot of picks, including pick 28 from tonight. However, you know what? I'm going to go with the most recent news because it's fresh in my brain. No, it wouldn't be the pick that was just made at the end of the draft here. We'll get that one in a second because that's a lot of fun. But you know what? It's a great day for Pittsburgh sports, buddy. I know you're not the hockey guy, but the Penguins, they weren't looking sharp to start. They were down 1-0 through two periods. Very beginning of the first period, it gets scored on like 17 seconds. Then it gets scored on the beginning of the third period, like about a half minute in as well. They were down 2-0, come back to win 3-2. Baseball news, Jung-Ho Kong, he's coming back to the Pirates. He's got a work visa and a designated driver, I suppose. So my buddies at the North Shore 9 will like that one. And then, of course, I'm missing something else. Oh, yes, there was an NFL draft thing going on today. I thought there was something else going on with Pittsburgh sports, but I mean, for the hockey nuts out there, I mean, that's all you really need to know. That was the other news. There were, it like slipped my brain because of just the crazy, the pick that the Ravens just made at the tail end here. But the Steelers dumped Martavis Bryant off to the. Yeah. They fooled the Oakland Raiders into giving up a third-round pick, a pick earlier in the third round than what we currently had. So now we have something that's in between our second and third. It's pretty nice for a guy that was going to leave anyways, that could have failed a drug test and been out of the league and not played a game in 2018 to begin with. I love it. Thank you, Chucky.
Yeah. I'm not – look, I think Chucky has poo-pooed the bed several times today. Already, but this is an interesting situation. I like Martavis, so I'm not going to downplay him. But at the same time, we've all agreed, and I've said this many times, he wouldn't have been back next year. So he had a 1-year prove-it deal. Now he has a 1-year prove-it deal in Oakland. That's the only difference. So they got more than I expected them to get out of him. My goodness, a lot of people were saying a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder is all he's worth. They got a 3rd round pick. I'm not willing to accept this as a win yet until I see what they do with it, though.
I like it for the mere fact of, let's see, the Steelers pick number 60 tomorrow.
Yep.
Or, yeah, you know what, it's going to be tough for me to say today and tomorrow because we're doing this late Thursday night and this is bleeding into early Friday morning. So pick 60 overall in the second round. And then they go from 60 to 75. So they get 15 spots later for some people are like, I got my cousin already, complaining at me and saying, our wide receiver 3 is Justin Hunter now. I'm like, nah, no, it's not. It's a yet to be determined player, which could be Eli Rogers returning, could even be Darius Hayward-Bay, could be Justin Hunter. That's fine. He's in the system. He's there as an insurance policy. I'm okay with all of that. You know why? Because Martavis Bryant did not earn playing time over Juju Smith-Schuster last season, and Juju is the wide receiver 2. They already have a wide receiver 1, the GOAT, Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver in football, which is the reason I didn't want all of these nut jobs yelling for Lamar Jackson to go at pick 28 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's still on the board. Lamar Jackson. Somebody mocked up Lamar Jackson in a number 8 Tommy. It was probably Tommy Maddox's body, a number 8 jersey. That's blasphemy, by the way. I am a fan of the Tommy gun, just like I'm a fan of Landry Goat, and that's the reason I didn't want Mason Rudolph. By the way, is because we already have Mason Rudolph. His name's Landry Jones, so. Yeah. I did not want a quarterback in that spot based on who was left. I was willing to accept and understand the pick had that happened. But Lamar Jackson, I was just like, you know what? I saw when Michael Vick could not complete a pass to the best quarterback in the game, and I didn't want that again. Now, I'll give Lamar Jackson a little bit more credit because we haven't seen him play pro football. We may not see him play pro football just yet because he's going to be an understudy behind one of the game's elites.
Yeah, he gets the joy. He'll get to, he's going to learn how to throw deep and get pass interference penalties.
Yeah, he doesn't have to complete a pass in that system. I was just thinking that right before you said it. I'm like, this is perfect for him because he could just, just launch one down the field and maybe hit Willie Snead because I don't know who else they have on their roster currently.
They have Hayden Hurst.
Oh, they have Hayden Hurst.
They have Hayden Hurst.
I am really roasting. You know what? I'm going to give the Bengals some credit here. A lot of people always say that center picks are a reach, which just really drives me crazy. But before I do all that, we said 60, we said 75, and then 92 is the other pick. So they would have went from 60 to 92 because the comp picks and stuff start kicking in there, and there's all kind of trades and all kind of other nonsense and craziness. And the Browns have like 84 bazillion picks. And you know what? We thought going into the day that they weren't going to screw it up either, but we'll cover that in a second. I don't know, man. The Bengals, okay, I think Billy Price, we know they needed help on that offensive line. I don't know if Billy's going to be the center. I don't know if Billy's going to kick over and be a guard, but it's going to help them regardless. 2 centers in a row, actually. Kind of surprising. Everyone thought that, the Detroit Lions, they were going to go what's his name? The guy that just took over as a coach. Jeez, I just lost it. Told you, half awake.
Patrice.
The Patriots guy.
The Patriots guy, yeah.
Yeah, the guy that looks like he's homeless, just like Bill Belichick. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's the way it works, man.
Two centers in a row there. And then, of course, Chucky, being John Gruden, that is, taking Colton Miller. We had some linemen go. I mean, you knew McGlinchey, you knew Nelson were the top of their class, the 2 Notre Dame guys. I don't know. I didn't follow necessarily like the 49ers draft plan so close. But you know what? And nobody got the top 10 contest, by the way. We put up a contest to guess the top 10 picks, and that pretty much got busted up real fast because Denzel Ward going 4 to the Browns, I think, was the first besides Baker Mayfield going 1, because there was so much suspense and drama. I like Baker to the Browns, by the way. The Denzel Ward pick, not so much, because, I mean, look who they passed on. They passed on offensive line help, and they passed on Bradley Chubb to take Denzel Ward. And I don't know. We're Ohio State guys. It's hard to not be at least somewhat biased there. But I don't know that he projects as something that helps the Browns. So the Ravens, I laugh at. The Hayden Hurst and Lamar Jackson. I think Ozzie Newsome's just trying to burn down the building before he leaves since his last draft.
It absolutely felt like he was just saying, yeah, I'm done, and I'm going to flip you the bird as I leave out.
Yeah.
As I walk out. So here you go. Have a tight end and a quarterback.
So I'm going to say the Steelers were fine standing pat. I thought the Bengals had traded with Buffalo, was happy to trade around. I thought the Bengals did okay for themselves. And the Browns will give like an incomplete because they had 2 picks. Personally, I like Mayfield the most, but we know Heisman Trophy winners don't pan out in the NFL, nor do USC quarterbacks, which is the reason I wasn't a big fan of Darnell. He didn't show me much as far as just my personal taste here. When he played Ohio State, I was kind of like, I felt like I was watching that kid from Wisconsin who couldn't hit, a blade of grass with a pass. So, yeah, I mean, the big surprise was Baker. And as far as the AFC North goes, you know what I mean? I'm going to say the Ravens are the big loser. The Browns are kind of like business as usual. We'll see if they destroy Baker Mayfield or not, if they ruin him. We'll see what Greg Williams does with Denzel Ward. I thought Greg Williams would be all over Bradley Chubb personally. And you know what? The non-sexy pick to the Bengals, that's exactly what they needed.
Yeah, the most stunning pick of the entire draft for me was the fact that the Bengals did what they should have done. Whether it was Billy Price or Jeff Daniels, I'm a little surprised in the fact that the Iowa Center, it didn't go in front of both of Ragnow and Billy Price simply because of injury and whatnot. And Daniels is a pretty well thought of prospect as well, and I thought he might go in the first round. But I can't complain. I love Billy Price, and since it appears that he will be ready for training camp, that's a great pick for the Bengals. It's the right pick for the Bengals, as much as I don't really like that. But I'm going to just say thank you very much to the Ravens and put them at the bottom of the list here. And the Browns, look, I'm not high on Baker Mayfield. I don't like short quarterbacks. He's a short quarterback, and I feel like he's slightly better Johnny Manziel, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Denzel Ward, I thought it was early on him.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought, he could have gone top 10. He was projected to be the top corner in the draft. I just didn't think that was the direction the Browns should have gone. I think had they gone Bradley Chubb, that would have been a frightening D-line that they had built. And I really felt like that was the right move. Of course, that's why they didn't do it. It was the right move. So it'll be interesting to see. But, I think probably what everybody wants us to talk about is, of course, the fact that Rashaan Evans went to the Titans. That's what they really want to hear about, right?
Well, I guess he never talked to them at all. There was no link there whatsoever, and then they moved. They moved up into pick 22. I forget how many picks. They were still ahead of the Steelers at 28 regardless, but I guess they had a feeling that maybe the Patriots or even the Ravens who were in that spot or the Seahawks or somebody may have. They definitely knew that the Steelers would maybe have interest. Maybe they thought the Steelers would move ahead. I don't know. There's a few heartbreaks.
According to a couple of the beat writers, the Steelers absolutely tried to move up to get him.
Probably didn't have the ammo. Yeah.
Even with the extra third-round pick, I just don't think they could offer as much. The team that they did trade with, Tennessee, that was Baltimore. So I don't know if Baltimore was going to help us. You know what I mean?
No.
It feels like that wasn't going to be something they were likely to do.
Nor the Patriots. There, it would have had to.
No,
have been.
neither one. Yeah.
And the Panthers probably weren't moving. They probably thought the Ravens might be looking wide receiver, and the Ravens just swapped with the Titans anyways. So unless they were trying to move with the Titans, and the Titans already had that on their mind, they were really gridlocked here. They would have had to jump way further ahead, which would have been somewhere. You know what? Surprise of the draft. I had two specifically because, and then I have my heartbreakers. My surprise, obviously, I already mentioned Colton Miller to the Raiders. That one really surprised me at that spot, and it explains why they moved back with the Arizona Cardinals, who got their quarterback. Man, everybody got their quarterback just about. And I said again, the Browns should just draft another one. Do the RG3 Kirk Cousins thing. You got enough picks. All these guys you have aren't going to make shouldn't make the roster because they have like 11 or 12 picks. So just jumping around, Colton Miller was the one. The right before us, I'm like, man, you know what? We're going to have our pick of the litter of a running back. There's some sexy picks out there. No one has taken a running back yet. Seattle might be interested. Little scared here because you knew I was on the Darius Geis train. He's still out there. You know I was on the Sonny Michel train. He goes to the Patriots. Oh, vomit. Man, I don't like that at all because I really think I really liked him even better, maybe better than Geis. I don't know that Michel was the complete package, but package him with Connor and you didn't need the complete package. Geis may have been more of an every down type guy, but he had terrible quarterbacks, so who knew what he can do as far as catching passes and whatnot. That's why you work these guys out pro days and whatnot. So, the Seahawks are up, and they select running back Rashad Penny, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Like, wait a minute. This is like, what are you guys doing here? You don't have an offensive line to run behind. You lost darn near everybody. They lost Michael Bennett. Well, they named them all on NFL Network because I was thinking about it. It was like Richard Sherman and Michael Bennett and Jimmy Graham, and I don't even remember who else. It's like that whole thing is gone and blown up now. And I'm just like, so naturally they take a running back. And I'm like, yeah. And not necessarily, this is like a Todd Haley style running back too. What is he, like 5'11"? I got it here, 5'11", 220. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are your surprises?
You picked the same two I did. The first one, and I was saying this, in the back rooms as we were talking about it and chatting about it, I said, I think Chucky's going to, poo-poo the bed. And sure enough, I didn't think that was the direction he was going to go to do it, but I felt that was really high for Colton Miller. I know tackles are a premium, but I think that he has holes in his game. Chase talked about him in the podcast we did with the mock draft, and had him as a second round guy. And so did Zach, I think, or maybe actually Zach thought he would go to the Patriots. But I was surprised he went that high. But it does certainly make sense for them to move back if that was the direction they were going to go. And then, that Penny pick, it just doesn't make – I don't think anybody's going to look at that and go, yeah, that's the pick that makes the most sense in the draft. They're all going to look at that pick and go, I can't believe that happened. I was a little surprised that the Ravens took Hayden Hurst with Calvin Ridley still on the board.
I know.
They've desperately needed wide receiver help. DJ Moore goes right in front of them to the Panthers. And, Steve Smith, I think, just about jumped out of his shorts when that happened.
He jumped out of. He nearly jumped out of his skeleton. Nearly jumped out of his skin, like organs intact and everything. He was so excited about that, man. It was nuts.
He was in love with DJ Moore going to the Panthers or even the Ravens, and then they go tight end. And I get it. He's a tough tight end. He's a different kind of tight end. He's got some range. He's got some speed. He's got some size. I just don't buy this as a first round pick. I thought Calvin Ridley. I was worried they were going to take Calvin Ridley because I didn't want to have to defend Calvin Ridley with all those deep throws that Joe Flacco was going to make to get pass interference calls. Now I don't have to worry about it because he's in Atlanta, although we will have to now play them. And it does make you wonder about the whole drama with Julio Jones over the last couple of days with him privatizing his Twitter account and whatnot.
Sounds like Le'Veon Bell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Sounds like pouting because they knew where they were going to go. And he maybe, look, I don't know. Julio has had some injury issues, but I'd say if I wasn't going to take the two you took, it would be the Hayden Hurst pick that I found the most surprising.
I like the Ridley pick to the Falcons, man. That feels like such a fit.
It's a solid pick.
Yeah. And I mean, most of these picks from the beginning, just running them through, Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, not really a surprise. I think that's a good fit for the Giants if they get some offensive line help there. Darnell to the Jets probably surprised them. We'll see how that works. They got a stable of quarterbacks there now, so they got to get something right. We talked about Ward, Bradley Chubb opposite Von Miller, and in a rotation with Shane Ray, especially if they throw the fifth-year option on him. They'll have him for 2 more seasons. That's a heck of a tandem that they got there. That's starting to look like something Philadelphia had last year as far as getting after the quarterback. Quentin Nelson, again, offensive lineman. Sorry, Zach Meckler, our resident offensive lineman at SCU. Not a sexy pick, necessary. Josh Allen to the Bills, of course. That was pretty much the given. Roquan Smith to the Bears, like it. McGlinchey, again, and not the sexy offensive tackle pick, but top tackle. Why not? Got to protect your how much money was Jimmy G making? I don't even remember.
Something ridiculous.
He's got the vault that Scrooge McDuck swims in. And then quarterback again, Rosen to the Cardinals, and then the Dolphins were left holding the bag well, there's a lot of great players here, but who do we take? What do we need? Minkah Fitzpatrick. Okay, I dig it. Vita Vea, great player. Buccaneers. Somebody called him Maui from the Moana Disney movie.
Yep.
Deron Payne, another guy I like there to the Redskins. Marcus Davenport, that was the head scratcher. Colton Miller made you forget about it a pick later because the Saints move up with Green Bay, and then you're thinking, oh, are they going to take a quarterback? Is this Lamar Jackson? Is this Calvin Ridley? Are they going to take a wide receiver? No, they're going to take Marcus Davenport as the defensive end. So,
and give up a lot. They gave up a first-rounder next year, and then this year's, obviously. So if Marcus Davenport isn't worth 2 first-round picks, man, that's tough. And I get it. They were talking about it on NFL Network that Sean Payton thinks this is the missing piece. This is what's going to give them Super Bowl championships. And they're in a win-now mode because who knows how long Drew Brees is going to play anymore.
That's
it
the
won't
thing.
Be many more years, still.
They're not going to get a replacement to play behind him because he's nearly, if he isn't 40 already, he's at the doorstep. You know what I mean? Any day now, his arm could fall off like Peyton Manning's did. And then they're going to have Trevor Siemian as their quarterback, and that whole thing is going to go, like a balloon that just got popped. Colton Miller, 15 to the Raiders. Bills move up, take one of the guys that I was just like, dang, he went all the way down to 16. Tremaine Edmunds. Derwin James also falling down there, 17. These guys sounded a little salty at the podium talking to Neon, Dion, Primetime Sanders there. And they shouldn't. I mean, you're playing. You're there. You're in the green room. You're probably a day 1 pick. There's nothing to be salty about. In fact, I would be happy going a little later in the first round because you want to go to a team that sucks. So these are teams that are a little bit better at least, or had a better season last year. Derwin James on the Chargers. Geez, man, that's nuts. And then I would have loved to have had Tremaine Edmunds. We ended up getting his brother instead. We'll talk about that as we're moving down here. Jair Alexander, Packers move up to get the corner. Then Leighton Vander Esch was the heartbreaker. Dallas Cowboys just had to stick the fork in and twist it into my gut. I think I walked away, and then I missed the 2 center picks, which didn't really matter anyways, before the Titans move up and get Rashaan Evans. And then that was the second knife in my back, and my feelings were hurt, and I had to watch Isaiah Wynn go to the Patriots, which I didn't care so much about. DJ Moore. That's a weird pick, by the way. That's a weird pick for the Patriots. I mean, they needed a tackle, and they announced him as a tackle, but that's a Kelvin Beachin-like tackle. I mean, he's a smaller tackle. Zach was saying he doesn't see this guy as a tackle. He's played a guard, pretty much his whole career. But if they think he's going to be a tackle, it'll be interesting. It was a weird pick, I thought. Yeah, we'll see what the mad scientist hobo does over there in New England. By the way, Brian, I want to bring up something. You ever hear that Bon Jovi "Living on a Prayer" song playing in the background at the stupid Patriots games at Gillette Stadium?
Yeah.
That song was dead to me. Now it's officially dead to me because I heard it during the Boston Bruins game the other night when they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, I'm heavily vested now in the Stanley Cup playoffs, as some of you follow my personal Twitter know. Bon Jovi, sorry, man, I liked you, but now that song comes on, all I could think of is that dirty New England area. And Jesse caught it.
Yeah.
So DJ Moore, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, we beat the dead horse on that. Rashad Penny, the Steelers pick. And then there's Taven Bryan. Mike Hughes, cornerback from UCF, goes to the Vikings in an interesting pick. Sony Michel, as I said, to the Patriots. And Lamar Jackson finishing out the first round at pick 32 to the Baltimore Ravens, who swap with the Philadelphia Eagles. So now we're going to circle back around to pick number 28. Steelers have several needs, but as we mentioned, Leighton Vander Esch off the board, Tremaine Edmunds off the board, and Rashaan Evans off the board. However, Tremaine Edmunds has a brother named Terrell, and Terrell Edmunds also played with him at Virginia Tech. And what was it? I got to pull up this quote from Mike Tomlin, but this guy could play pretty much everywhere. This is the dime backer, the money backer, the guy that, they tried to get William Gay to do a little bit of this, and William Gay was somewhat successful. But this is someone that I don't know necessarily that they're going to be a starting safety. This is what I was like really banging the drum on when it came to drafting a safety high in this draft was you sign Morgan Burnett. He's a Swiss Army knife, too. Apparently, Sean Davis is, too. Very versatile safeties they have now. They add a third one. And it appears to me, anyways, you could probably count on Davis and Burnett as your starting safeties, whichever positions they end up playing. And Edmunds, there was some chatter about him moving up into the first round. He was linked to the Steelers, too. I believe he had a visit. I think we marked that in the Draft War Room book. And yep. I put him down. I did a wish list, and I had gotta have. It was the Cold Stone Creamery ranking list. There was the gotta have it. The LVE was a gotta have it. Rashaan Evans was a love it. If they make it, this isn't the most ecstatic thing, but I understand it. And then there's the ones where it's like I like it. And I didn't know that Edmunds would be the first round pick. I was thinking maybe he would be a day 2 pick, like second or third round. I don't really know how far they felt that he would fall in regard to other safeties, because it really looked like they were really interested in like Justin Reed. There's also Jesse Bates. There's Tavares Moore. There's MJ Stewart. They went out and looked at a bunch of these guys, and Edmunds just jumps off the page and surprises us, kind of like an Artie Burns type pick. And you know what? I don't hate it at all. Actually, just as I said on the wish list, I like it.
Yeah, I'm not against the pick. I think it's high. But this is Zach had made the comparison. This is a lot like Artie Burns, a guy who's creeping up boards, who's moving upwards as the draft is coming on. And potentially projected to go in the first or the second, with guys like Justin Reed and Jesse Bates still on the board, with Geis still on the board. I don't know how I really feel about it. I love the player. I've been talking about Terrell Edmunds through the entire mock draft season. We talked about him the other day. I love the kid as a player. I love the game he plays. I love his versatility. I love that he's a hard hitter. I love that he's a quality guy, right? He's a Steeler type guy, a good individual, character guy. And so I love all those things. I don't know that there's a part of me that just continues to feel like he'd have been there later on. And I feel a little better knowing that maybe the Steelers had tried to make a move to get Rashaan Evans and they just couldn't pull it off. I get it. They had limited. They are not giving away next year's picks like the Saints did. So, they're not going to mortgage their future to try and do this. But I will be honest. The best thing about this pick was Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, definitely moving, chilling, hair standing up on my arms and the back of my neck and everything. I was perusing the Twitter sphere here for a second, speaking even of Shazier, and now I lost it again. I had the official everything that Baltimore gave up, and it was, I think, a second, a fourth, and then a pick next year. And I had lost it. Here we go. Second round pick. They get the Eagles get the second round pick number 52, fourth round pick 125, and a second rounder in 2019 for picks 32 and 132 this season. Wow. Okay. I don't know about that one. I mean, they got a few picks anyways because they were maneuvering around. So, but yeah, Edmunds definitely fits a need. They're definitely going versatile. They're trying to see who fits where. I mean, Pro Football Focus hated Sean Davis last year. I didn't think he was terrible. He's definitely reliable. He doesn't miss very many snaps. I think anything that looked like he may have been positioned, I ultimately kind of blame on Mike Mitchell or even Cody Sensabaugh playing in place of Joe Hayden. I made a nice little tweet about Edmunds saying this new look secondary, when you think about it, Carnell Lake's out as a coach. So they have a new coach in place. They have, you got Burns, you got Hayden, who's still kind of a newer component to that. Burns is entering his third year. You have Davis, who's still kind of newer. You have Morgan Burnett come in. You have Cam Sutton, who missed half a year last year. You have Mike Hilton entering a second year in a full training camp. And then Terrell Edmunds. Wow. Let me tell you what. I don't know. If they didn't shore it up now, man, it's going to be very disappointing going forward. Let me see if I got I'm trying to see because they had the little press conference thingy Mike Tomlin said Terrell Edmunds this is Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, can play multiple positions from free/strong safety to sub-package linebacker. Hey, that's what we said. A number of things on the menu for him, quote, Tomlin said, checks all the boxes. So, and then, of course, right next to it, Fowler also said they didn't plan on trading Martavis Bryant until they got offered a third-round pick. That's what Kevin Colbert said. He wishes Martavis nothing but the best. Same that I do, too. But, I mean, like we said, for a guy that was heading out the door now, they've got some more options here on day 2. And I guess maybe that's what we should be looking at is some of the names that are still out there. Well, obviously, inside linebacker still huge checkbox here. What did we say before? We liked Darius Leonard, right?
Yep, Darius Leonard's still around.
My favorite name to say, Josie freaking Jewell. Yeah.
Josie, yeah. The outlaw Josie Jewell.
Let's see, Malik Jefferson. No. He's out there.
He's out there. I actually would absolutely not expect him to go in the second round unless there's a real run on these guys. Another guy to keep in mind is Tegray Scales from Indiana and Micah Kaiser from Virginia. Both could be, low second round, third round guys at inside linebacker. And
Shaquem
Griffin, yeah. And Jannard Avery as well from Memphis.
I think that does cover. That covers most of the inside linebackers that are probably on the table, and all within reach of those 3 picks, the second rounder and the 2 threes now.
Yeah, there's the nice thing that the trade does, and this is why I hesitate to say I'm willing to say it's a win for the Steelers until I see what happens, is it gives them the opportunity to maybe make a play tomorrow in the second round. If they want to move up into the upper echelons of the second round because there's somebody there they think is going to be gone, they could, they could maybe package their second, third round pick and their second rounder and move up and still have a decent pick in the third round. It gives them more options. My gut is that may or may not happen. Probably not. I think they'll probably sit where they are, which will be interesting to see who ends up being around. That all those picks, all 3 of their second and their 2 third now, are going to be in the range where guys like Josie Jewell, Micah Kaiser, and Scales, even Darius Leonard, are all likely to be around. So there's a lot of options there. But, I think the other thing is what's the wide receivers going to be like? Who's going to be around from the wide receiver end? I know that we've gotten several guys have mocked us James Washington. So that's a possibility. Christian Kirk didn't go in the first round.
Yes.
The fastest guy of the wide receivers, DJ Shark, still around. So there's some wide receivers, too. I expect them to fix the inside linebacker thing and get a wide receiver sometime tomorrow. But I'm not going to be surprised if they don't move up and get Darius Geis.
What? You never know where he's going to end up either. And there's still some guys that we liked. Like you love Kerryon Johnson still. And,
I do.
And there's still why can't I think of his first name now because I have the other Chubb on my mind. Nick Chubb. I'm grasping at straws. There's a few other backs that are there. And I don't know. I don't know if they got to. Let me tell you, I would be ecstatic to get Darius Geis with a second rounder. I don't see it happening if they stand pat. It would be awesome, but I think more or less the more likely thing is linebacker and wide receiver, and then a best player available type situation. It's going to be interesting to see where things fall. There's still, somebody's still got to draft Mason Rudolph here somewhere. Some nut is going to go and get Kyle Lauletta or Mike White out of the quarterback class here in the second or third round because you know what? That's what they do. We saw this insanity last year with C.J. Beathard and, Chad Kelly was Mr. Irrelevant, but, even he got drafted. So we've seen these things in the past, and that could only help the Steelers' chances. Not a whole lot. Some offensive linemen off the board here, not a lot of defensive linemen. So there's going to be need for safety. There's a lot of good safeties on the board. So hopefully that knocks out at least about 15, 20 picks, and it could get inch its way towards the Steelers, where maybe this is. Don't forget, they could get rid of a pick next year too. They could. They don't have to do the Saints deal here or the Ravens deal here to jump up a little bit in the second round, especially if they swap a second rounder outright. It could be, you know, like a fourth rounder next year or fifth rounder or something like that packaged with it. I think that ends up being equitable depending on how high and how far they have to go. But those are a few of the names. The other one I wanted to say, the guy I mocked, I believe even in the second round in my mock draft, may have been a third rounder, was I think it was second round though, was Dante Pettis, who just seemed like another guy that was a freak athlete who would fit in pretty well with the Steelers. He's also a very physical guy. I don't know if anybody's quite Juju. I think even Juju surprised me from the standpoint of us trying to say, oh, this is a Hines Ward type guy. But Pettis was another rough, gritty guy who likes to go out there and hit people too. So might be on the radar. I believe they had an interviewer visit with him too. I don't have it in front of me. So there's another name. Of course, Washington was a one that popped up quite a bit, and we know now that Martavis is going to be out of the building and cleaning out his locker. That opens up a spot. But even if they don't move on it, I expect him to. Here's the reason. One is they're still eternally looking for someone who's going to replace Antonio Brown on special teams. They don't want him returning kicks, punts, whatever. The other thing is that Antonio Brown and Juju will be the only guys under contract next year, barring any stuff that, you know, they start doing extensions and things before training camp. But I could expect Darius Hayward-Bay to pretty much be headed towards retirement. Justin Hunter is very fortunate to have another one-year deal. He's much like Darius Hayward-Bay was several years ago at the bottom end of the roster, and we don't know what Eli Rogers' status will be regarding not only contract, because he's currently not signed, but his health, and whether he could return to full strength and still be a contributor, or whether they even view him as a contributor within the Steelers system. So a lot of things to look at. You know what else, Brian? Only one tight end went. Only one tight end went, and then it was to the stupid Ravens. So there's still tight ends on the board too, although I don't think that's a very big need. It's something I think that just needs to be said out loud. Yeah.
What surprises me more is edge. There really was only one true edge guy that was a first rounder edge guy, because Bradley Chubb is more of a D tackle kind of guy or a D end. But Harold Landry slipping out of the first round kind of was a surprise. You know, that's the guy. That's another guy that if the Steelers had any interest in him, and I don't know how he fits since they optioned. They picked up Bud's, fifth year. It didn't seem likely that they would go edge. But if he continues to fall, could be a guy they look at in the second round as well.
Well, as we've talked about here numerous times on the show, which really gets under my skin, and I was talking with someone on the site in the comments section on one of many articles. It wasn't directed necessarily toward you, Ed, my new craft beer buddy, by the way. But I was just talking in general how people always call Bud Dupree a bust, and I had proven not only in an article but on this show several times, he and T.J. Watt almost identical stats, with the exception of T.J. picking off DeShone Kizer in his first ever game as an NFL quarterback, almost identical stats, and they drop into coverage or in top 5 when it comes to a certain, outside linebacker kind of edge designation of guys who drop into coverage for their snaps. And, I put Bud Dupree up against like Justin Houston. Justin Houston had like over 100 more snaps that he not only played, but it was like, Justin Houston had like maybe 1% of the time he dropped into coverage. So he has like, 100 times more. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but way more opportunity to get after the quarterback. And Bud still gets after the quarterback. You never hear Bud's name called as, you don't see anybody do a dump off pass to a running back and beat Bud Dupree. And, I think people just look at it and they want those James Harrison, Jason Gilden, Lamar Woodley, Joey Porter. They want those sack numbers. And that's not the way that they operate now. They don't even have 3 in the 3-4 anymore. It's more like don't. 2. It's more like 2. They're putting more emphasis on this secondary. And you know what? They're going to need the help there because, let's face it, they didn't get Evans. They didn't get the other Edmunds brother. They didn't get LVE. So I'm not going to say that the next guy isn't going to be capable, but the top level first-round talents pretty much off the board inside linebacker. We saw Ryan Shazier tonight, too. I mean, A year from now, do you think he's going to be looking better than what he did struggling to walk to the podium? My heart goes out because I hate even saying that, but it's just a dose of reality here is it's going to be John Bostic and Vince Williams. So I have a feeling they're going to roll with an extra DB, be it Burnett or Edmunds that was just drafted. They're going to be using a lot of that. They tried that kind of look with Robert Golden or even Jordan Dangerfield in spells there too. Very little spells the previous year. And you know what? The only game it worked was when Brock Osweiler played at Heinz Field when the Broncos were up. And the Steelers came back and beat them at home 2-3 years ago, Peyton Manning's final year. That's the only time that actually worked with that safety because they just haven't had the personnel. Now they have an infinite amount of depth there, I believe. We still don't even know how they're going to use Brian Allen. We've talked about that, and I don't want to beat the dead horse here because a lot of these topics are going to come back up when we do another show tomorrow and cover the day 2 picks, the 3 picks that they have. So I'll get your closing thoughts on that, but it's not 3-4, it's more nickel. So I don't get too bent out of shape that they're not going after a nose tackle or even the Landry pick as far as the edge guy, considering they just re-signed Chick. They have some depth there too, and we'll see what they do headed forward the next 2 days of the draft.
Absolutely. I mean, my only take on this is if you're going to go BPA, if that's the mentality and you try and as Kevin Colbert said the other day, when you pass on a player that is better to try and fill need, you end up regretting it. I'm not saying that's what they did with Edmunds tonight, but there are some questions. I think moving forward, they're going to pick a linebacker up. They're going to pick a wide receiver up somewhere in the second day. Tomorrow, if they get out of tomorrow without a wide receiver and an inside linebacker, I'll be stunned. But another person maybe to look at is depth on the defensive line, and Nathan Shepard could be a guy to look at in the third round. He's been creeping up too, and I've been talking about him since the combine. So it's another guy that could help fit a need that isn't really a need, but a depth situation, eventually becoming a starter. So it's just a guy like if the second and third rounds go anything like tonight, it's going to be just whack. It's going to be really interesting to see.
They missed the draft. It plays out. They missed the draft by a week. They needed to do it on 4/20.
Oh yeah, because that's what it felt like tonight, man.
It was.
This was a 4/20 draft.
It's crazy. First time since 1983 that at least 5 quarterbacks went in the first round. I think everyone's getting just a little, maybe 2 quarterback happy. We'll see if it's a good class. You know what? We can't even talk about Edmunds. Could be a bust. He could be a Hall of Famer. I mean, nobody knew when Troy Polamalu was selected. I mean, you don't know. You won't know for a very long time, even if Rashad Penny ended up being a bad pick. The guy could be Barry Sanders for all we know. It's just, we're going on and, I don't want to say educated guess. I mean, we are educated people, but you know what? It's still a guess. So,
absolutely,
yeah. I don't. And someone's going to be like, "Well, who's your pick for tomorrow?" You know what? I'm just along for the ride now. I had a pretty good guess. Like, last year I liked Derek Rivers. I liked T.J. Watt. The year before I really wanted Javon Hargrave. So, my only favorite right now is Josie freaking Jewell. I mean, because they still have a need at inside linebacker, and you know what? The guy, face it, he looked good in black and gold already. Why even change the uniform?
Absolutely.
Just bring your Iowa Hawkeye uniform over to Pittsburgh, and we'll welcome you with open arms. It would make Tina happy too.
Oh, Tina will be ecstatic if we pick up Josie Jewell, and I think it's a good, solid pick. It would definitely fit what they do at this point. Especially, it complements Edmunds. The pick of a Terrell Edmunds, because he can take on tight ends, and you can get another guy, a more traditional linebacker as they play that nickel D. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It's going to be a fun night tomorrow.
Yes, it will. So, in closing, folks, check out the website. We might be a little slow getting some stuff up because we're all going to be headed for bed here shortly. So we're up in the wee hours of the night. Hope you find it entertaining. Till next time, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. Be safe. What do I say? I say be safe, be good. Good night, maybe? Maybe that's the one I need. Some of these, everyone's
be safe,
in bed
be good, and we'll talk to you later.
There you go.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.